So I had the idea of rather than me trying to always check on these kids, asking them to check on me. And so I brought the first student down and I said, hey, most days I have good days, but not every. And everybody needs to be checked on sometimes. So will you do me a favor? Will you do me a favor and check on me every day? And he smiled and he said, yeah.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beam and Danny Hogger as they explore the why of teaching.
And welcome to Inspiring Teachers. I'm Danny Hogger, back for another amazing episode, and I'm continuing to jump across the country here. We're making a stop in Alabama to talk to our first administrator on the program. Danny Steele is here with us, who has over 25 years in education, from being a principal, an award-winning vice principal, coach, history teacher, and father of 3. He's doing a lot, and we're glad that he could have a moment for us today. Danny, how are you doing?
Good. I appreciate you reaching out. Appreciate the platform you give educators, and I'm just sort of been here enjoying a little break from school.
Absolutely. And what's not to enjoy? I mean, love the schedule. And I got to give you 20% bonus points for having a great name too. Danny is such a cool name. I liked when I was reading your blog at steelethoughts.com. You have so much about genuine connections, making intentional connections. I love your mid-December blog about that you checked in with some students and said, hey, I want you to check in on me every day, if that's all right with you. You come and say, hey, and you wrote about how you'd get a high five in the hallway and you get eye contact from students who maybe wouldn't have had a connection with their principal. So first, I want to say thank you for that. I mean, that's inspiring enough. And your stories, you could tell from your community of administrators that they really respect you and that you're doing it for all the right reasons and that you're very connected. So tell me about your approach first in your admin role and your principal work, and then we'll roll backwards to your journey from there.
Well, most of my background is in secondary. I was a high school assistant principal for 10 years. I was a high school principal for 3 years. I'm in my 5th year now at a 6th grade center. So I've just got 500 6th graders. I've got a great assistant principal who handles most of the discipline and a lot of the management type stuff. It frees me up to focus more on working with teachers and trying to build connections with kids. So it's I'm in a great situation, and I've got a great faculty. Behind any successful principal is a group of teachers that are killing it. And I have got great teachers, great support staff, and so I'm fortunate to be working around the superstars that I've got.
That's pretty great. In your blog, you write that as with staff, as with students, that a little encouragement goes a long way. So tell us, what are some of your ways to encourage students and staff? I know that you like to lead by example. What does that mean to you?
Well, this summer for the first time, I learned how to strip floors and wax and use one of those buffers. And that machine will take you all over the room if you don't learn how to control it. So, that was a couple hours that I could connect with my maintenance technician and custodian and let them know that I don't take that hard work that they do in the summer for granted, making our floors look so good. And, when teachers, I had a teacher who needed to go pick up some pizzas for a pizza party the week before we got out, and I covered his class for about 20 minutes for him to do that. And you have to be willing to do the things that teachers do, that your staff members do, but without a doubt, it's just about building relationships, building connections with the folks in your building. And I love what I do every day. I love our kids. I love our teachers, and I think they know that. And it's just a matter of caring about the people that you're with. I spend so much time cutting up with one of our custodians and telling her jokes, and but she also sees me connecting with kids. I brag on her when someone comes into the building, and I say, look, this Miss Constance here, she's one of the reasons our floors are always looking so good. And so I try to support our folks, whether it's through email shout outs or texting during the day if they need something, or anything you can do to help your folks. Show them you're there, you've got their back. It's really not complicated. It's just about caring about the people you're with and investing time in them.
Yeah, I made the jump from middle school after 4 years to high school. This was my first year. Our principal greeted us first day with the message of like a teach plus one. Like, do one more thing outside teaching that's going to connect you to the campus, connect you to the school, and make you more responsible and more, a part of the school. And I thought, that's nice. That sounds good. And so I signed up for this teacher improv show. And I thought this will be fun. This will be a good way to interact with the student body a little bit. In the show, I looked down the line at the teachers who are participating, and there was my principal. And you can definitely bet that what you're saying is true. If you are seen as someone who's participating and believing in what they're saying and acting on it, that made me feel really good. I'm like, okay, so this is the kind of school that I'm at. And it's a huge school, 2,700. Maybe not huge, but huge to me compared to the private school that I was at. So yeah. that meant a lot to me. So, Danny, if we're working through your journey into education, you've done it all, and I know you've done more than we can summarize in a short few minutes, and I won't try to simplify your experience, but what was your why of teaching when you were in the classroom, and your why of being a principal? Why do you do this work?
Well, when I went to college, my major was sociology. I didn't start off trying to be a teacher. That's not something I dreamed about as a kid. But my sophomore year of college, so this would have been fall of 1989, a tape by the National Teacher of the Year. His name was Guy Dowd. He was a teacher from Minnesota, and he gave this talk on the radio, and I just heard a tape recording of it, and it changed my life. He talked about the difference that teachers made for him as a young kid, and he talked about his experience teaching high school English and the relationships he's built with kids. And he's the first person I heard say, I don't teach English, I teach kids. And after listening to that tape recording, I changed my major and to history and minor to education so I could be a high school history teacher. And so my entire teaching career has just been predicated on the importance, the value of building relationships with kids. Like, that's just the most important thing to me. I'm keenly aware that there are kids who hate school. There are kids who have a hard life. And if there can be some adults in the building each day that are a bright spot for them, that's making a difference for a kid in a powerful way. And so that's kind of what drives me every day. There is no educator that got into business to raise test scores. At our school, we are passionate about student achievement. We're passionate about raising test scores and getting kids ready for the next level, whatever that next level is. Mm-hmm. But more than anything else, we're passionate about making a difference for kids and creating brighter futures for them. So that's what drives me. That drove me in the classroom, and it drives me as an administrator.
That's great. That's great. I know that people could go to steelethoughts.com and read a lot about your blog. I wonder if you might share with us a recent story that made you happy that you're doing what you're doing, a story that kind of solidified the feeling of appreciation for the interactions that you have, because I'm sure that they happen frequently. And I wonder if those happy stories kind of keep you going through the challenges as well.
Well, I'll, if you don't mind, I'll just provide a little bit more detail and context to that blog that you made reference to, because
that'd be great.
It's really recent. We had I had a former teacher who he was named Teacher of the Year for his system, and he was quoted in the paper. A reporter said, "What's your advice to new teachers?" And he said, teach every child like you're their lifeline, like you're their last chance to succeed. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. I first, read that quote several years ago, but I shared it with our leadership team in the summer, and it ended up sort of being the impetus for a little initiative that we started called Lifelines, where we're the adults in the building offer to serve as a lifeline, just a connection to a student in the building who needs an extra advocate. This is not anything that's formal. There's no paperwork connected to it, but it's just as an adult, as an administrator, or as a teacher, basically we're just saying, I'm committing to caring about this kid in an extraordinary way, that I'm going to be invested in this kid being successful this year. So this year I had 3 lifelines, and we normally with the teachers, we try to pair up the lifelines with teachers that we try to get them in their lunch class or in their homeroom, or so they've got these built-in connections every day. As a principal, I don't have that. I'm in the hallway many times a day, and so I see kids, but it's crowded hallways, and it's not the best opportunities for making connections. And it's sometimes awkward calling a kid down to the office. I do that sometimes and make positive phone calls or check on kids, but it's still can be an awkward thing for students. And see, the students don't know that we're their lifeline. It's an informal thing that we don't talk to the students about. But so I had the idea of rather than me trying to always check on these kids, asking them to check on me. And so I brought the first student down and I said, hey, most days I have good days, but not every day. And everybody needs to be checked on sometimes. So will you do me a favor? Will you do me a favor and check on me every day? And he smiled and he said, yeah. The very next day, our eyes caught each other and he gave me a thumbs up. He said, "You doing good?" And then he made eye contact with me at the end of the day when he was leaving and said goodbye, Dr. Steele. He had not said goodbye to me the entire year. And he never really connected with me in the hallway. And then I had 2 other students did the exact same thing. And so I've got this one student. I mean, one of these guys has actually come and knocked on my office door when it was closed.
Wow.
He just wanted to check on me and see if I was having a good day. So
that's cool.
That just makes my heart smile. And that's something that we just started, about a week or 2 before we got out for the break. So I'm looking forward to getting that, continuing to see that. Hopefully those relationships grow as we start the second semester.
That's outstanding. That's something I think a lot of use and model, in different forms. I hope that would inspire people. Yeah, well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the blog post, when I put it out on social media, it really did resonate with a lot of people. And I immediately had a lot of educators across the country say, I want to do that. I need to do that.
That's really great. That's the kind of stuff we're looking to share. Maybe more people will hear that even from this venue, and we'll get that idea. So thank you for that. 2 more questions for you. One of the other things I liked that was in one of your recent tweets said that we need to do a little bit less as teachers as the lesson planning and more learning experience planning. And in history, you better believe I'm trying to do that all the time. How can I create an experience that will be memorable and enjoyed? Because that is what students remember. So do you have any advice for teachers like me who are in the history department? Maybe you have a couple of plays that you would go to in the classroom for a particular subject that you think make great experiential exercises, or maybe it's a template of something that you can do in different periods of time that you might be able to think of. I'll share one maybe while you think. One of the things I loved is in economics doing a budgeting project where I'm going to give you a salary, I'm going to give you a city to live in, you got to find a house, you got to pay all your bills, and I want to see it all documented out by the numbers. And I want you to think, what would you like about that life? What would be difficult about it? What sacrifices would you make? And at the end, they all learn something. I think one of the things they learn is go home and thank their parents, right, for doing so much for them that they don't consider every day, right? But 2, they have a much better understanding of, well, I better put myself on track to make this much or to do this job if I'm going to live in this city. And it also in California gives them a sense of how the real estate market is, which is very eye-opening to them. What are maybe a couple of things that you think make great experiences or that teachers can try to do?
Yeah, well, I never thought of myself as a real creative teacher. That I would not say that was my strength. As an administrator now, there are some principles, I guess, that I think are important. First thing is I think the best teachers never forgot what it was like to be a kid.
Right.
And I don't know if it was Dave Burgess or who it was that said it, but asked this question: would you want to be a student in your own class? And so that's sort of one sort of set of lenses for teachers to use when they're looking at their lesson plan or their activity, just reflecting and thinking, is this something that I would want to do? Is this a class that I would enjoy? And so that's significant. I think another thing I would say is anytime you can give students choice in what they're doing. So maybe you provide the budget guidelines like you were talking about. You provide some parameters, but they have choices in where in California they want to live, or whether they want to buy a house or rent. Or anytime students have choice in what they're doing, I think that significantly increases the likelihood that they're going to be engaged in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would say there.
That's fantastic. That's something I can keep in mind as I design the spring semester that's coming up. And I haven't taught anything from this level of history till the end before. So it's all new for me, and I'm excited to go through that. So my last question is, we'll put a twist for the administrator here. Let's say you've hired a new teacher at your school, and give me either a piece of wisdom that you have for them, and they're in their first year or just finished their training, and they're about to walk into their classroom. What's a message you'd like to impart to them?
It is really, really important to collaborate with your colleagues and to lean on veterans.
Nice.
And not all veterans are equal. Some veteran teachers are burned out. Some veteran teachers don't necessarily bring positive energy every day to work. So it's a good idea, I think, as a young teacher to maybe ask your administrator, say, if I could sort of pattern myself after any of your teachers, who's someone you would recommend to me? Because I guarantee you that administrators have certain teachers in their building that they wish would sort of mentor everybody, even if it's informally. I know oftentimes there's a formal mentor system, but there's veteran teachers who are outstanding and who are passionate and who have not lost the fire for kids and who are relentless about trying to get better. So trying to connect your new folks with those veterans who have those qualities that just define great teachers.
Fantastic. And then let's turn the calendar to the end of the year, and let's say that you're departing for the summer and you check back in with that teacher again, or anybody that you've worked with. What's one thing that you hope that your staff has gained from their interactions with you? Something that you've imparted a lasting impact on them. What would you want that to be?
A movie called As Good as It Gets from the 90s, Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt. And there's kind of a pivotal scene in this restaurant where they're out on a date, and she wants him to pay her a compliment. And he says, well, I started taking my pills. And she said, how is that a compliment for me? And he finally says, you make me want to be a better man. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my favorite movie lines ever. And I think it speaks to the ability we have to bring out the best in those around us. So if I had teachers that say to me, Danny, you make me want to be a better teacher, that your passion for kids, the support that you provide us, the freedom you give us to fail sometimes, to try new things, that makes us want to be a better faculty. If I could have that sort of an impact on teachers, I feel like I will have done something meaningful. The teachers are the ones that do the really valuable work in the school. The magic happens in the classroom. It's the administrator's job to support them, to encourage them, and to remove barriers.
That's awesome. You make me want to be a better podcast host. How about that? Does that work for us? Danny Steele, where can people find more from you if they're looking to learn about your blog and your Twitter account? Go ahead and give everybody your information.
Well, my Twitter account is Steele Thoughts, Steele Thoughts. And my Instagram account is also Steele Thoughts, and my website, where my blog is steelethoughts.com. So Steele Thoughts is where it's at there.
There you go. Well, we appreciate.
I'm excited to say, if I'm able to, that I've got 2 books coming out in February.
Please.
Had the good fortune of writing these books with my role model, an informal mentor, a guy named Todd Whitaker. And so we've got a book coming out February 17th that's called Essential Truths for Principals, and then February 24th coming out, it's called Essential Truths for Teachers. And they're available now for pre-order on Amazon. But I'm very excited about that project.
Congratulations on that project, on everything you're doing. Thanks so much for giving us time today.
Danny, I appreciate you having us. Thanks for what you do.
Oh, absolutely. With that, for Danny and Steele, I'm Danny Hogger, and we'll see you on the next edition of Inspiring Teachers. Everybody, class is dismissed.